come with me, Brenda Tajon. Brenda
Thank you.
Tajon, yes. So Brenda, the name Tajon, that's a French name?
It's a French name, yes. Turgeon is how it's pronounced in French,
Yeah.
but the English call me Turgeon.
Turgeon.
Well, that's how they pronounce it. Turgeon
Yeah.
is what most English, but I get a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Turgeon, Turgeon.
Yeah. I know you are not the firstborn in your family. You are the firstborn.
I am
Yes,
the
you're
firstborn, yeah.
Yes.
I'm 67.
Yeah.
I know I don't look a day over 30, but I am. 67,
Yes.
I've got two sisters
Yes.
and then a brother. Well, I think my 3 grandbabies that live with me keep me on my toes
Yeah.
and keep me young.
Absolutely, and it's usually kids are very demanding. They need a lot. So
Oh, yeah, they do.
I can imagine. You're always up and down, sorting out stuff for them. Either you've gone to shop or you've gone swimming with them, or you've gone for camping. I saw quite a number of pictures on your social media. Where had you gone?
Oh, well, this year we did, well, Madeline, my daughter,
Yeah.
had to have the 3rd surgery
Yeah.
on her ankle. So we squeaked in camping trips beforehand.
Yeah.
She loves to swim in the lakes as opposed to pools, so she knew she wouldn't have an opportunity to swim once her surgery happened.
Yeah.
So we went to Algonquin Park, the first camping trip for the year, and then we went to Fitzroy Harbor, which is really close here. I was working, so I dropped them off there,
Yes.
and I get a call at 1:30 in the morning
Yeah.
with Madeline whispering in the background. She says, "Mommy, there's a bear on the campsite," because I had the car with me.
Yeah.
I'd left the food there in another tent.
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, how big is it?" "I don't know, but it sounds like an old snoring man." So I had to go there at 1:30 in
That's
the
interesting,
morning
huh?
to pick them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah.
But she did the right thing. She kept talking, so the bear wasn't surprised
Yeah.
by anything.
Yeah.
And
You've I know you do a bit of artwork, like you're a designer, interior designer.
yeah, I'm a retired interior designer,
Yeah.
and retired back in 2013.
Yeah.
And I do a lot of art. I do a lot of beading, a lot of painting. The art around the room's mine.
Yeah.
And I love doing those kind of
Yeah.
things.
There's something about life that people go through different challenges, and there's so many ups and downs. And I know you've been to Africa before. What's been some of your highlights of Africa? Like, what are some of the places you visited in Africa?
Well, I just went to Uganda
Yeah.
since I was 9 years old, and my dad took me to Expo 67 in Montreal. I'm
Yeah.
from Montreal. I've been fascinated with the sub-Saharan area of Africa, more particularly with Uganda.
Yeah.
I've followed it through, Idi Amin, through,
Amazing.
the different LRA. I find people here in North America aren't really well connected with the goings on in Africa. Yes,
Yeah.
they've heard of this, they've heard of that, but
Yeah, that's what I found very interesting. Like I got to notice that not a lot of people do know the history of Africa.
no, they don't.
And I don't think it's actually taught at school. They don't do that.
They
do
they do teach it, but not in depth.
Yeah, not in depth.
Certainly not in high schools.
And you were actually a history student.
That's
Yes.
right.
Because
Right.
I remember you sharing a couple of things about the
Yeah.
history of literally Europe and Africa, and you were really well conversant with quite a number of things.
I love history.
Yes.
I absolutely love history, and especially I have an interest in, well, I just love the history of Africa
Yeah.
and colonization, actually. I mean, I mostly disagree with colonization. Like, you
Yeah,
can't just
yeah.
go in and invade somebody's country,
It carried some really dark parts to it. I think there were some very immoral aspects to the colonization that took place that will
There-
never be
people
spoken about. Yeah.
The English, for example, everybody looks at England like they're such a civilized nation, right? But they have a lot of dark history. Like at one point, the objective of England was to make the world English, make the world England. Yeah. So they colonized India. They colonized Uganda, Kenya, many
most of
countries.
the entire parts of Africa. But I think the most important thing to this is you literally notice that there's two different cultures when you went to Africa. Like, the way people live here, it's very different from the way people live in Uganda. What has been one of your most shocking culture shock experience in Uganda?
Well, I did a lot of research, so nothing was really shocking. One of the things, there are several things that are fascinating about being in Africa. Back to the colonization bit, when these countries in Africa became independent, it was really before slang crept into the local speech of of Westerners. Before, like one thing that I really noticed, for example, throughout French and English sections of East and West Africa, you don't hear contractions there. Like here, we'll say don't. There they say do not. Names, for example, the name William, you will never hear anybody over there being called Bill. Or Will. They use proper words and proper names before the slang came into effect. Some of the purest forms of English, for example, are spoken in Uganda. Some of the purest French is spoken in Senegal, Cameroon. You hear somebody speaking French from France, depending on where they are, and slang has crept in over the years, as it does.
Yeah, there's lots of definitely slangs that have crept into the pure language, right? And
exactly.
It's watered down the originality of
it's true, and it hasn't been watered down in many of the countries in Africa. The other thing that I found totally fascinating, and things that we take for granted here, if I want to make myself a cup of tea, I go to the kitchen, I turn the kettle on, and it's the hot water's ready in minutes. Over there, power is not exactly totally reliable, right? And most people do not have what they call their cookers, stoves. So they'll have these either individual charcoal burners or...
Not a lot of people understand what charcoal is today.
No, they don't. It's
What's charcoal?
Well, charcoal is just coming back into use here. I mean, for years people had gas barbecues. They're great, you turn them on, boom, but there's nothing that tastes as good as meat on a charcoal barbecue. Over there, charcoal is used as a cooking source. So people will buy it in these big, like 4 feet tall bags. And
it's interesting. There's a time I saw one literally almost of my height.
Exactly. And it's quite dirty. Obviously, it's it's like black chalk. And it's a commitment. You're not going to fire up a charcoal burner for 1 cup of tea. So if you don't have access to electricity and an electric kettle there or whatever, or a cooker, a gas cooker, it's a big thing. So in the morning, of course, they make their tea in a big, huge flask. It'll be, I don't know, like maybe 1.5 feet tall, and lined with very, 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 very heavy glass, and this will keep it warm for the whole day.
Wow.
The tea there is the best tea I've ever had.
Amazing. The level of poverty is deplorable. Like it's not nice at all.
It's really things that we take for granted here. Stuff like bathrooms, for example. There they have pit latrines. Some people don't have toilet paper, and there's a big joke here. Oh, you run out of toilet paper, use leaves. There, I've seen they use leaves.
Absolutely,
I personally didn't, because with my luck, I'd pick up a toxic leaf and have a rash on my, bum or something.
And you did proper shopping before you went, so you had enough toilet paper for
Oh
yourself.
yeah, I brought toilet paper with
Absolutely.
me because, again, you do your research before you go anywhere.
Right.
And I brought a whole case of things like,
Yeah.
the little soaps that you get
Yes.
from a hotel. Well, I
Yes.
had a friend who's traveled all over the world, so he had hundreds of soaps.
Yeah.
Because soap is something, again, not everybody has soap there.
Yeah.
But they're very clean people. They're not, these are not dirty people, even really impoverished, and they'll use salt water as a form of sterilization. But they're very grateful.
Yeah,
for
they just
the
find a
soaps.
different way of trying to make
Yeah,
ends meet.
exactly.
Yeah, as opposed to if they can't have everything, so they will try to improvise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you again, I remember talking about a couple of things with you. Like about difference in culture and some of the things that you experienced there very different from here. And I think it's important for people to know before you, like you said, before you travel anywhere. It's good to do your homework, do your research.
Because you could do something there that is quite offensive.
Yeah.
Like, for example, there's a restaurant I frequented there called the Iron Donkey. They made great lattes.
Yeah. I love that place. I've been there before.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
it's really good. They actually had bacon a lot because I always like my bacon and avocado and tomato sandwiches.
Yeah.
But there was a young girl in there. I would say that she was about 20, and an American girl. She was talking to a couple of other American girls. She was interning with one of the organizations, and she was wearing a pair of shorts. Like, I'm talking almost Daisy Duke shorts here, quite short shorts.
Yeah.
And she was complaining that when she was walking down the street, she felt men were leering at her.
Yeah.
The other girls she was talking to didn't say anything, but me, being the granny that I am, interjected, and I said, well, if you don't mind me saying so, did you research the clothing customs
Culture,
here?
Yeah, customs, yeah.
And I said, you could walk down the street anywhere in Uganda, go anywhere, church, whatever, and have babies hanging from each boob.
Yeah.
But God forbid should you show your knees in public. I said, knees and thighs are highly sexualized.
Yeah.
And I was wearing a kitenge at the time, which was a wrap skirt.
Yeah, you love your African kitenges.
Yeah, I do. Well, they're so, you wrap them around a couple of times. You use them to wear. You use them to carry babies in your back. And I said, this is a very typical way. It's very comfortable. And you're not going to offend anybody. Don't wear a skirt that you could see the sun right through either. And
that's just different cultures, like you said. And I think it's important for people to know that. Brenda, let's talk about life in general in regards to issues of depression, addiction to, let's say, drugs or alcohol. And I know this is something that some people struggle with. I know you for instance, you were once there, and eventually at some point you said, that's it for me, I'm not gonna drink anymore, I'm done. And it's been, I don't know, like how many years down the road, like free from alcohol.
It's coming up to my 1-year anniversary of being free from alcohol.
Congratulations.
And thank you. It's September 30th is what is referred to as my sober date. I am a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was really lucky. I mean, you'll talk to several people who are recovering alcoholics, and many of them have lost their homes, lost their jobs, lost their families. I never lost anything like that. I never hit what some people would call rock bottom. I had my aha moment one day when it was before I was going to Myrtle Beach, and I got into the wine and obviously drank too much wine, and I ended up by falling on my kitchen floor. Did not hurt myself. However, I have no memory of falling on the kitchen floor, and that was my aha moment. That was my wake-up moment. It was making me crabby as well, and crabby with my grandbabies, and I mean, I want to be the best granny that I could be, and I knew I couldn't do that until I was the best person that I could be.
Amazing. And I could tell, because I mean, even all this time when that was happening, I literally could tell that you don't want to do that because you want to do it. But sometimes when one is stressed, they tend to sort of find something to help them cope through the stressful moment or depression. And I think sometimes it's difficult if you're trying to, like sort out some sort of mess. Let's say this things are not going the way they're supposed to go. Let's say with family or at work, or people usually tend to resort to some sort of substance to use. It could be alcohol, or it could be some sort of drug. And in your case, it was that bit of the stress. And how do you advise now that you're out of that?
Yeah.
What's your advice for people who, because of going through some stressful moments, they tend to have an inclination towards drinking, and that becomes a problem every now and then they drink. Instead of being a relief, it becomes a problem for them.
It sneaks up on you. Firstly, in my case, I wasn't drinking out of a stressful situation. I was drinking mainly out of a bored situation.
Oh, okay, wow.
One of the worst things, and it started back in about 2014, I guess, when we could track, that was just the very start of the problem drinking era. But there's nothing worse than having a lot of time on your hands when you have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
And my company had closed down its division, so all of a sudden, I didn't have a job, I didn't have a daily purpose, etc., etc. So let's talk on the phone with the friends and make girly drinks, and of course,
yeah, catch
so,
up and then
exactly,
life,
and that's the start of it. And over time, I always enjoyed my Vino Rosa.
Yes.
And to the extent where, people were shocked when they heard my story about, the fact that I was an alcoholic.
Yeah.
And how much I was drinking, 1.5 liters of wine every single day.
Amazing.
And I'm 160 pounds and 5'10", so it's not like I'm 5 feet tall and 100 pounds, right? But still, that's a lot of alcohol, And I was very lucky. I'd never drank and drive. I'd never do that. I'd never do any of those really horrible behaviors.
What's the difference now? I'm really fascinated and thrilled by your story. What's the difference then and now? Like from the time you were heavily indulging in alcohol, and then now that you are free from, what's the difference in your life? What do you feel is that uniqueness that has come with this new life?
I think probably one of the things that I have noticed, which is really, really amazing, because I'm not the most self-aware person in the universe, my level of patience has really increased. I don't get as frustrated with the kids, for example, which 5, 7, and 8-year-olds, and they're very active kids. Yes, they have their moments, right, when they fight, etc. But I think my tolerance is a lot better.
And I agree with that. I've noticed that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, and the kids have noticed it too. Yeah. And but that's probably the biggest thing. And things like just
saving some more money.
Saving money, exactly.
At the time the money would go towards the wine.
Yeah, exactly. So, when you're not spending alcohol and for the first few months, I said to my sponsor, my AA sponsor, I was complaining because I was never into sweets before. You'd never see me eat a chocolate bar before. And all of a sudden, I remember close to Halloween last year, you buy those boxes of the Halloween chocolates, right?
Through the night.
I'd be snacking through the night, snacking through the day. And I said something.
I remember you did tell me that, it's like the chocolate bars have replaced the wine.
Yeah. And I couldn't understand. And I said to my daughter one day, I said, I can't believe I'm doing this because I'm not even into sweets.
Right.
And she said, duh, Mummy, your body's craving sugar. And I
Yes.
said, why? It's never craved sugar before. And she says, what do you think alcohol is? And, I had not
Yeah.
even thought of that. I hadn't
Wow.
connected the dots. And I said,
Interesting.
oh, yeah. And so my first thought is, oh, my God, I'm going to eat all this chocolate stuff and I'm going to weigh, 300 pounds.
Yeah.
And so, I was talking to some of the girls at my meetings,
Yeah.
and they said, oh, don't worry, we've all been through this. It only lasts, a couple, 2-3 months. And
Yes.
it did. It only lasted 2-3 months. I'm over my chocolate bar rush.
And that's a very interesting story. Like I've noticed the level of patience that
Yeah.
you exhibit, of late. It's quite remarkable and amazing. But also, like you said, you get to save some more money, and also it comes with, you wake up in the morning when you're fresh. You have a fresh mind.
Exactly. I didn't realize before that I'd wake up in the morning with a hangover.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I didn't know what a hangover was.
Yeah.
But obviously I wake up in the morning with a hangover because now I wake up in the morning and I don't have, my mouth's not dry and feels like the bottom of a bird cage,
There's a whole absolute relief that comes with being free from alcohol. It has way too many benefits, Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
And bear in mind, a lot of my drinking, although at that point I had started obviously developing a physical dependency on alcohol, but a lot of it was habitual.
Yeah.
So at night, that's when I, take my wine up
Right.
and read my John Grisham
Right.
books. I'm
Right.
addicted to John Grisham books. And so I still, at night, I'll bring up a big mug of coffee.
Yeah.
And so I need to have my nighttime drink. Now, luckily, caffeine doesn't bother me. I could drink espresso
Oh gosh,
before bed.
I don't
And
do caffeine, right?
yeah,
It
exactly.
shuts down my system. Yeah.
Caffeine has never bothered me.
Yeah.
My ex-husband, he couldn't drink coffee after 5 o'clock at night because otherwise
It works him
he'd
out,
be
just like
up
me.
all night.
Yeah.
But no, I could drink espresso before I go to bed and
Wow.
nothing happens.
So
but
recently you went to Cuba. Like I think there's something so paramount when it comes to having leisure, and spending time at least once in a year,
yeah,
just to be away from the usual
on
normal
my
routine.
own. Yeah, I do get away several times, just to be on my own and read my book and eat disgusting food. And I
Yes.
say disgusting food, like non-kid friendly
Yes.
food,
Yeah.
like fish or something.
Right.
But I went to Cuba. I was there for 11 days.
Nice.
By myself, and I ate dinner really late. Like I ate dinner at 8:30, sometimes 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
Which, when you have 3 little kids, you can't do that.
No, you can't, yeah.
You have to be,
Yeah.
consistent
Yeah.
and around 5:30 dinner time,
Yeah.
which to me is like in the middle of the afternoon.
Yeah.
But it was really nice.
Yeah.
I got up early in the morning. I had my croissant, my 2 lattes, and
Right.
hung out by the pool and did what I want. I just
Yeah, there's always that me time
Yeah.
that you need away from.
Yeah.
Sometimes, the routine and the normal way of how you've been living, let's say with the kids
Yeah.
or from work, where it's just you and the place where you're at,
And John Grisham.
enjoying, yeah, and
yeah,
just
yeah.
enjoying,
We don't forget me and John Grisham.
reading your book,
Yeah.
just by the beach and having. Why is that important? I think it's critical, and if you just want to speak into that, and also sort of just encourage people how they can get out of addiction of, let's say, alcoholism.
In terms of getting out of addiction, it really helps to understand how addiction works,
Yeah.
and how it grabs hold of you, because you don't wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm an alcoholic."
Yeah.
And
It's habitual. It's a gradual process.
it's a gradual, and there's a physical takeover,
Right.
Where your body needs that alcohol. And most people that I know, they've had their aha moment or rock bottom, and they realize, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself if I go on like this or whatever. Mine was, I still have no recollection of having fallen on the kitchen floor that time, but you know, those are brain cells that are gone.
Right.
But you have got to want something bigger than the addiction.
Yeah.
And you know, through the AA process, they talk about, you know, the higher power. Some people are religious. I'm religious. I'm a woman of faith. So even long before that, you know, I didn't have to search for my higher power because I have, you know, I have God as a higher
Yeah, you
power.
believe in God, yeah.
Yeah, and one of my favorite passages is a very small one. The will of God will never take you to where the grace of God cannot protect you.
Absolutely.
And there's some times where you have to cling to that because that's all you have.
How does one come out of addiction then?
Well, you know, as I said, you really have to want it because it's difficult. And depending on you know how long you've been drinking.
Yeah,
for
there
example.
has to be a sense of awareness that you have a challenge first and
Well,
foremost. Because not a lot of
yeah.
people actually do recognize that they have a challenge.
Well, and
So
people
acceptance is key.
and how acceptance, that's the big huge thing.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I had my father say, you know, I really worry about you, you know, you're drinking too much wine. Oh, it's okay, it's okay. My sisters
Yeah.
have made comments, but nobody ever comes out and say, you know what, Brenda, I think you are an alcoholic. Nobody says that because it's such a sensitive issue,
It's
right?
sensitive. Yeah. You don't know how somebody's going to react to it.
Well, exactly. I mean, would I turn around and punch them out? And so, I mean,
Yeah.
you do realize, because you do realize that, you know, you're hearing this, and also you realize, I mean, I recognize people, normal people just don't drink 1.5 liters of wine every single day, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't drink 1.5 liters of anything every
Yeah.
single day. And so you've really got to want it very badly. Everybody has to have a reason, I think. You know, you can't just, oh, I think I'm going to stop drinking one day. Everybody has a reason. It could be court mandated, whatever, but my reason was mine.
Yeah.
Nobody told me. I had no ultimatums. And
So it's critical for you know the addicts to sort of find that reason why they have to leave.
yeah, exactly. You know, because nobody could make you. Nobody could make you start drinking. Nobody can make you stop drinking.
agree with that.
You have to do it yourself.
It doesn't matter how many counseling sessions you go to,
No.
or you know.
If you're not ready,
rehabilitation, yes.
you're not
You're
ready.
yeah.
Nobody could make you. Nobody could force you into it. It's got to come from you. And once I was serious about it, I picked my date ahead of time because I was going to Myrtle Beach, and I had a few drinks there, not anything crazy. So I did curtail my habit there.
Yeah.
But when I got back, on the Monday, that's it. That's
it, yeah.
the start of my sober date.
Yeah.
So I picked my date ahead of time. That's what worked for me, and I knew I'd go to AA, and one of the hardest things for me, the first night I went there, it was one of my friends was having his second year sobriety celebration, right?
Yeah.
So I met a bunch of people, and you know, they asked, "Is anybody here for the first time?" I put up my hand, and everybody clapped and cheered because it's a big thing.
It is the big thing. Yeah.
And then the second week I went there, I remember sitting there bawling my eyes out, like, because all of a sudden, when you're drinking, you're masking your emotions.
Yeah.
So even though I said earlier, my drinking wasn't from stress, but because of the alcohol, I wasn't allowing myself to feel stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff or bad stuff, I wasn't feeling stuff. And all of a sudden, all of these things came to the surface.
Amazing.
And because I'm not self-medicating,
Wow.
it's like I'm feeling this raw emotion, and that was the hardest thing to deal with. So I sat there and I felt safe because here I was in a whole room full of alcoholics, right? So they've all been there at various stages.
Right.
And the same friend that my first night was at his 2-year thing, he bought me it's called the Big Book, you know, the Alcoholics Anonymous guide, and signed it saying, you know, keep coming back. And
that was some sort of encouragement. Like sometimes
that was huge.
You need somebody who keeps encouraging you to do the same exact stuff so that you don't give up. Because it's very easy to have a relapse and just get back to
most
the same
people do.
stuff.
I mean, my sponsor was dry for 2.5 years. 2.5 years, and she relapsed, but now she's been dry for like 13 years.
Yeah.
But it is easy to fall back on. You have
Yeah.
to be very, very conscious, and sometimes, it's boring. Like when I was in Cuba, I had some mocktails.
Yeah.
Girly drinks, and I ended up by switching away from them really quickly because they're just too sweet.
Exactly.
And I just drank tonic and lime the rest of the
As we
time.
bring this to an end, Brenda, it's very critical what you've said. So I think it's important for people to, number one, have a sense of, not a sense, have that place of knowing why you need to stop drinking.
Yeah.
Which is
have a reason.
Have a reason. Have a reason, and then work towards the reason.
Yeah.
And your story is quite inspiring. I'm very sure Brenda's story is going to inspire somebody who's going to watch this. And
my advice to anybody seeing this is, if you think you have a problem, remember, friends and family, when they drop hints, the hints are coming from somewhere.
Yeah.
Get help, and you have to humble yourself. You have to be in a position where you can accept help. It's not embarrassing. It's very, you'd be surprised how many people have this thing. I'm not embarrassed to say I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah.
If it helps somebody else get the help. But you have to make yourself vulnerable. You have to put yourself in a position where you're receptive to get the help.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Brenda. It's been a pleasure just hearing your story, encouraging somebody. And like Brenda said, seek help, speak to family members, seek out counseling, and you will definitely get better. But you need to have a reason, find that reason, accept that you have a challenge, and then find help for that, and your life will absolutely turn around for good. Thank you for watching. Till then, remain tuned in.